This is a review of yesterday's trades. Quick higher time frame. This includes also today's price action, but it's mostly about yesterday. So what we could see up to the release of the CPI, the day before the PPI came out, and it was already I think better than expected. So I think it was to be expected that CPI was also going to be, let's say, positive in terms of market. Of course, you can argue if you express CPI but you exclude food and energy, whether that is a proper indicator of true inflation. But okay, I'm not here to discuss that. So data came out, immediate reaction. We had a cluster of fair value gaps. It went straight through, found support, bounced up to this H1 fair value gap, and this was where I was interested in seeing any trades. So this was US Open, and I was carefully watching the charts to see the reaction in this H1 level. For ES, it had the same. I used that as a reference in terms of SMT. So let's zoom in using a different chart. So this is the H1 that we saw on the other one. And here I was watching price develop. And what I immediately noticed here, which caught my eye, was an SMT. So we printed a higher high for NQ, but a lower high for ES. I think relevant to know, I marked out this level because I thought this was an interesting high, and also this level, which was more or less at EQ of this H1. So I marked these out. So I also had this one level, and I think it just barely tagged or just not tagged it. So let's see what price was doing. So here I'm interested to see, so there's no inverse value gap, and what I normally do is then I mark the low. So we have a big candle here, but I take this as a low to see if there is a potential change in the state of delivery. Same here, because this was the last recent high. I do the same then for ES as well. I'm not going to mark it out now, but this is what I did yesterday. And then see price develop, but it was actually just chopping around. And now you could see that the SMT is invalidated because now it was almost reversed. Let's say an SMT the other way, but now both were printing new higher highs. And most of the time then I'm just looking for a inverse fair value gap. And I had to take into account that seeing bias, I mean, price was just pushing upwards. So I keep in the back of my mind, shorts here are counter trend and most likely faced with a lot of upside pressure. So then I try to scale down size for sure. So I lower risk, like half a risk of what I would normally do. And I keep my targets close. So normally I would leave a runner open, maybe a quarter of the contracts. But here I would close, I think I left open 1 out of 5 contracts. But normally it's just better to take the 2R and be happy with it, especially when it's counter trend like this. I am working on so was this interesting already? I think this was already the fair value gap that was providing support. So for me, it would be interesting to see what price would do, especially since ES, because this is the same candle. I mark out those candles to see that ES already closed below. There was no change in the state of delivery because that would be here. These up close candles, this was the last down close candle. So that would be the change of the state here. But you could trade like a breakdown here, close below, stop above the high, or at least the last wick high before the candle was, the IFVG was broken, and then trade it to the change in the state of delivery, which is a short trade normally, but could provide interesting RR. So you could see that it was chopping, finding support, 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 and then there was a down close candle. And I have to check. So normally, especially when price is not really eager to move down fast, you tend to get a retest. And if I'm not mistaken, even though it closed quite far, I opened it on the FVG and put my stop. Now I have to think, because I don't know, because the executions don't show. I think I put my stop in this candle, or I entered a bit later. I have to see what is price doing. Yeah, so at first, oh yeah. So I missed my stop loss just was one tick away from getting tagged. So this was my entry, this was my stop. So I kept it quite tight, in a sense that if there is a close below, then I want to see it move or react immediately. In hindsight, the lesson here is, especially when I'm doing a counter trend, I could better move my stop a bit more up, so I give it a little bit more room to breathe, because the expectation is that there's a higher chance of wicks that can stop you out. But I also saw that ES was seeing more downside and showing more bearish price action. And seeing the price action that was done, I think there was some room for a move down. So I kept it quite tight with a low risk. So if I would get stopped out, that's okay. And then it would be interesting to look at longs. But that's in a trending, such a trending market environment. Trading reversals is quite tricky. I am trying now it's a more scalping technique in trending environments, but I haven't figured it out yet. So I have to do with what the market gives me. And here in the trade, you could see this was actually not because I wanted to, I had my profit here. It was a 245, so I put it here to see. I'm not going to stretch all the way, because price is likely to maybe react already from this order block. So I kept it at a 2.4, which was, in my opinion, very nice. So it got almost hit, and then unfortunately moved back. But what I normally do is, when I go into profits, especially in this case, it was almost a 2R profit, I start trailing my stop loss. So here I start moving my stop loss to this wick already. And I think there was, so this was actually quite painful, because when this candle came, I moved my stop loss to, I think, this wick, taking into account, so I moved it to this wick at break even. Price moved up violently, kicked me out of the trade here, and then price immediately ran to targets. And it actually got this level, and then I think it reversed. Yeah, then it started reversing and then got back, and it started chopping here before finally moving down. So yeah, this is a shame, because I think I got like $12 loss, while it could have been, if I'm not mistaken, $250 profit. So my risk was $100 here. And I can show the executions, because the executions don't show. I don't know why that works. That's the case. But yeah, you can see from here it was just more chop. And I was actually looking at the 5 minute to maybe see if I could re-enter. The good thing was, and that I think was interesting too, so I got stopped out here to that. The IFVG held, so there were no closes above. And it was also, I think, due to ES being heavier than NQ. So my expectancy was that in the end it would provide a proper move downwards anyway. But the chop means that you need to allow for some breathing room, which I didn't give. Especially here, this was just nasty getting stopped out over there. Yeah, but it is what it is. So this was the trade for today. And I think if I would move to the 5, because I marked out here this change in the state of delivery. And then normally you could enter at the retest of the change and then put your stop up here. But seeing what price was doing, for me that didn't provide a proper RR. And I think I got not so much scared, but I didn't want to get stopped out in a similar way because it was too choppy. So this could be an interesting one. That's a 1.7, but it's likely then for price to get here, which it did. I don't know. See the chop, so yeah, you get it to a decent profit, and then price is ranging. So in the end, yes, it got there, 2.4 as well. So this was also a lesson for me. So it's normally I trade on the M1, but when price is more volatile and has a clear direction, then it's actually better not to trade on the M1 but on the M5, because then you get more confirmation of what actually price is doing. Also because I think there was an SMT here. These were equal highs. Yeah, okay, so a higher. Okay, that's like looking for it. I'm not going to look for it. So this was actually an okay trade, especially seeing the weakness of ES, like it was going to hunt these stops here. So this could have been a better trade, but I didn't take it. I also had to make dinner for the kids, so that was it.